All right, looks like we are live now. Good morning. Hope everybody is doing well. Just doing a quick refresher, just making sure that this shows up on your guys' end. Oh, one more time, I think I did it too quick. There we go. All right, so this is Paint with Lovejoy, and today's painting is going to be of the Northern Lights, and this is a viewer request. So what you're looking at on the canvas, I am using a resurfaced, regessoed canvas, and it's a way to kind of not have to purchase a whole bunch of canvases and panels, and you can paint many, many things on top of this. So if you would like to do that to some of your first video or first paintings, there is a link in the description box below, so feel free to check that out. And like I said, you can just kind of keep doing paintings on top of paintings. So, like I said, we're going to do kind of an abstract background. We're going to do some splatter of stars, and we are going to start with kind of some light, kind of lemony yellow, and then we'll get into some teal yellow, and then a little bit of pink, and then darker towards the top. Then we're going to come in with some pine trees to kind of give it the indication that we've got the landscape down at the bottom, but definitely looking up into the sky. So I am going to be starting with the light colors first, and we're going to be basically hanging out in this bottom left-hand corner and then working our way across the canvas. And I am using a brush today, and I'm on an 8x10 canvas, so it's a smaller canvas. So I am using smaller brushes. If you're using something smaller or larger, feel free to adjust your brush to the size that you like. So I am starting with the white and yellow mixture, and as we're applying this, try a few different brush strokes. You've got one that's going to be kind of using the full width of the brush straight across. You can turn that brush sideways, create a skinnier line, and then the favorite one is literally just making X marks and slapping the brush back and forth. So I'll probably be doing the X marks. And again, I'm just going to create kind of an abstract shape on here, and then we're going to be building our colors on top of this, or kind of from around that edge. But if you want to switch out colors, do something different, you have full permission to do that. And I'm using student grade paint, so I do recommend that you apply your paint a little bit thicker, and it'll make it a little bit easier to mix your colors when we get to that portion. And you can also see that I'm actually mixing the color kind of each time I grab it. Don't feel like you have to get the exact same color combo each time. So if you have to mix your color 2 or 3 times, totally okay. All right, and I just looked over, see all you guys jumping on. Awesome. Hi, Anita, Denise, Anna, V, Anita. All right, excellent, excellent. Thank you guys so much for jumping on here and hanging out with me. So for this base shape, again, it's just kind of a really weird abstract shape. I'm going to take some of the direct yellow instead of the mixture of the yellow and white, and I'm going to throw some actual yellow in here, and just kind of in a few random spots. And then we're going to start mixing this with a little bit of the teal and get some of that kind of limey, almost slightly neon color. We're going to see what we can do. And this straight yellow that I'm using, I am blending it a little bit into the lighter yellow and going a little bit on the regular canvas. So whatever you feel like doing. All right, so we're actually going to move into that kind of neon-y color. And I'm going to stick with just that yellow. So you can see as you kind of pull some of that yellow aside and then you start to add just a little bit of the teal, it becomes this really pretty color. You do want to hang out more with more yellow in it. Compared to more teal, because we are kind of going for this little vivid green. I'm going to wipe off some of that excess paint off my brush. There we go. And here I am overlapping some of the light lemony yellow. It is changing the color just a little bit, but we're imagining that we've got this nice kind of light haze happening around the yellow, and then we'll go into a little bit of light teal. And as I'm doing these, I am imagining that the borealis is kind of shooting up towards the top of the canvas, so I am kind of keeping my brush strokes moving in that direction. All right, and a few more. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Matthew and Mike. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. And if you have any questions today, please feel free to leave a comment or that question in the chat, and I try to look over every couple of minutes to see if there's more questions. But I do thoroughly enjoy the fact that you guys chat amongst yourselves and ask and answer questions and just make it for a really good community. So now I'm actually cleaning that brush off really good. I'm going to take some of that white. I'm going to go for a little bit lighter teal, and I might add a touch of yellow to it. Yeah, let's go a little more teal. So kind of going for that medium. And yeah, we're going to add just a touch of yellow, not a whole lot. There we go. And I'm actually going to adjust that. Let's throw some more white in it. Yeah, let's go a little bit lighter and then a touch more teal. So the teal and yellow color combo can be a little, not quite tricky, but it can be a little bit of a different shade to work with. So just kind of find your balance. And again, the Northern Lights, I have not seen them in person, but I have seen quite a few photos of them, and they do actually come in a variety of colors. So don't feel like these have to be the exact same color as what I'm doing. All right, I think I'm actually going to cover some of that up with the darker paint. All right, so cleaning that brush really good. We're going to go in for kind of a lighter pink, a bit of a magenta. So pulling that white aside, a little bit of red goes a long way, and that's actually darker than what I want. So I'm just going to make a lighter pile right next to it. There we go. All right, and this one I am actually going to go a little bit on top of some of the other colors. There we go. And they will blend just a little bit. I do not remember the scientific reasons as to why the borealis is there. I know it has something to do with the atmospheric pressure and the position on the globe, but beyond that, that's all I know. Awesome. Hi, Craig. And let's see, Denise, you just jumped on and said hi. Perfect. Awesome, awesome. All right, so still just adding our different colors for our borealis. And I actually am liking this pink a little bit more on the yellow, so we're going to pull some of it into there. So again, as you're painting, if you're inclined to adjust or change something, trust that. It's just paint. If you don't like it, you paint right on top of it again. And if it turns out to be awesome, you tell everybody you planned it that way. So grabbing a little bit more of the lighter pink and just doing a few little lighter sections on here on this weird abstract painting at the moment. All right, so we're going to clean that brush. We're going to go in with some darker blues. And as I'm looking at this, I'm not liking this color nearly as much, so I might go in and change that. Oh, awesome. Hey, Craig. Let's see, Kylan. Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for jumping on here. I do miss you guys coming out here from Arizona. Hopefully you guys will be able to travel out here soon. And I love that we've got people from all over the world. California, the UK, Puerto Rico. Awesome, awesome. You guys are making me feel really important. So thanks. All right, so now going for that lighter blue, and like I said, I may adjust that. So I'm going to take some of the clean part of the white that I can, throw that over here, and I'm going to grab a chunk of the blue, because like I said, we're going for a bit of a middle blue. Yeah, I like that color better. All right, and likely we're just going to go right over this. There we go. So yeah, I was not really feeling that lime green color. So if you want, just go right over it. You can leave parts of it. You can also put the new color on top of it. This is turning out to be an even more colorful Northern Lights painting than I was planning on. So that's just what makes it fun. And let's throw a few of them in here. And again, as you're doing this, and especially as you start changing stuff, get out of your chair, look at your painting from a distance of, 5 to 10 feet away so you can kind of assess it from its normal viewing vantage point. And then you can decide what you want to change and what you don't want to change. Because sometimes it looks one way up close while you are painting it, and it may look a little bit different from that distance or after you've rested a little bit and you're no longer in the painting groove. All right, so now we're going to go for a little bit darker blue, and then I will be adding some purple to this. Let's go a little bit darker. And if you're painting on a stretched canvas, carry that color over the tops, the sides, and the bottom of your painting. It just looks that much nicer when you hang it on the wall, having that color wrap around the edge. If you are just using this as a repurposed canvas, like with all the texture I had on the beginning, don't worry about painting the edges, because if you're going to gesso over it again, you'll basically just waste paint on the edges. Awesome. And again, I am using kind of light pressure to do some blending. If you need to add a touch of water, you can, but you do want to rely a little bit more on just the actual blending with the paint. All right, so cleaning that brush. Now we're going to add some purple. I'm going to go a little bit darker in here, and then I'll assess, see what I like and don't like about it. And then we'll move into putting the trees on there. Oh, we're going to do the splatter stars too. All right, so as I'm looking at, I've got two reference photos that I've been kind of going back and forth on, and this is like a weird combo of both of them. But like I said, I may actually come in and start shaving away some of those other colors. So going in with the kind of the bluish purple, it is mixing with that blue that I put down there originally. Awesome. And like I said, with acrylic paint, you can just paint right on top of stuff if you don't like it. If you want to go back with another color, you can. You do want to do everything that you want to your background now before we move into putting in our little forest and our trees at the bottom. So it is up to you when you get to decide to stop on your background. And hopefully I'll continue or decide to stop on mine before the 30-minute mark. There we go. And I'm actually liking this purple a little bit more as it's mixing with the blue and a little bit with the pink. So again, maybe I think that's the theme of today's painting. Don't be afraid to kind of change if your direction of your painting wants to go in that area. You can always repaint it, and you can always just go, that was fun, and do something different next time. It's more about the fact that you are actually painting and going through the process rather than what you create. All right, grab a little bit of that direct purple, put in a few other spots. And I'm going to stand up and look at it through the screen. Oh, yep, very abstract, very cool. And I'm going to go in with some more of the blue as well. And even as I'm looking at it, now I'm standing up and I'm looking at it through the camera, I'm using a flat brush. I believe it's more of a filbert, so it's got a bit of a curve, but a flat brush or a filbert brush will work. I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, so when you're looking at it, when you take your progress picture with your cell phone and you look at it on the screen, it's the same thing as looking at your painting from 20 feet away without getting out of your chair. So it's a nice way to just kind of test and see it from that distance without physically having to move. And then as I'm filming and painting, if I stand up and can look and see what on the screen, what it looks like from the distance, and then I go back and kind of change stuff. right, and I think I'm actually going to go back and touch up just a few of the yellow. And because I am on the resurfaced canvas, mine actually is drying quite quickly, so that is to the benefit of creating these videos. All right, so I'm going to go back to that yellow and white color combo real quick. And let's see, I'm wanting a bit different transition right here, so let's see. Let's add, wasn't quite liking the teal. Let's add a touch of the blue. Nope. All right, and then yeah, sometimes when you do change directions, your brain just kind of stops for a minute and you go, oh, let's try this, let's try this. And even if it ends up not being the thing that you want for your final result, your brain is learning a lot as you go through and try those different things. And that's how your brain's learning that new information of just going, oh, all right, I tried this and this is what happened. I like it, don't like it. I will or will not do it again in the future. All right, and let's see, go back to that pink mixture just before we start doing the stars. And then I swear I'll move on in a minute. There we go. I think that's more of what I was looking for, because they kind of create these waves across the sky. And again, you can just layer your acrylic paint on top of each other. Sometimes you might mix and make a new color. And probably when I actually go one day to see these in person, I'll just be like, wow, I need to work on painting that. Thanks, Matthew. I'm glad you enjoy the channel, and I appreciate your support. Nice. Oh, and Photography Queen, thanks from South Carolina. Awesome. All right. Glad everybody's doing well. All right, let me take a look. Okay, really, I'm just going to say it's looking really weird right now, but that's all right. That's part of the art process. All right, so I think our trees will cover up a good portion of that. All right. So let's do some splattering of stars. And you've got two options for your stars. You can go full on with the brush and make little dots. Or you can take your brush, you're going to add a good amount of water. Switch this so you can see where I'm grabbing the white. Good amount of water and your white paint. Let's see if I've got enough water on here. And then you take your brush. Yep, there we go. If you're doing this method, make sure you are somewhere that paint splatter is okay to get on, because this will splatter at a lot of areas. So like I said, just make sure that you're not getting paint in areas you don't want them. And you can have as many stars as you like, and because this is up where there is not that much human man-made light, there are tons and tons of stars. And like I said, I haven't been there, but I'm assuming that's what it looks like. I did live in New Mexico in the middle of nowhere, and the stars were just stunning. And I lived in Sedona, Arizona, so the stars were pretty cool out there too. But out in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico, even put those to shame. All right, so we've got a good splattering of stars. You do want to let this dry before you do your silhouette design on there. And I'll probably do a few mountains and then we'll have some trees coming up from there. I will lose a good portion of this bright yellow blob. So it's going to be kind of nice just to go, that's how much your painting can change as you add different elements to it. All right. Okay, so we've got our black right here. Just going to move that so it's a little bit easier. All right. So I am going to be using the flat brush. Whoops, just there we go. I was going to say I just lost my image. Okay, so, and I just got paint all over my pants from doing that. Awesome. Managed to miss the cats, so that was good for them. All right, so we're going to put our base line on here, our horizon line, and then we'll put some mountains above it. And I like to start on the left-hand side. We're going to go up because, like I said, we are covering a good portion of this, and we just want a little hint of the yellow behind it. So I'm going up maybe about 3 or 4 inches on that left-hand side. You can place your little dot with the black paint, and then I'm just going to imagine that that's one peak of the mountain. So placing my brush there again, and just kind of allowing gravity to just bring my brush down. We are going to put trees off of that in a moment. And then again, imagining that maybe there's another little mountain behind this one. So starting maybe about 2 or 3 inches from the bottom of the mountain we just did and place it on there. Let me throw this on here a little bit darker so it'll be easier for you guys to see. Then you can fill in that rest of that space with black paint, and then we're going to put some trees, the silhouette of trees on top of here. Now, like I said, I do recommend that you let your background dry before you add your black paint, but if you are painting swift and your background's still a little bit wet or those stars are still wet, the black paint's actually overpowering enough that it'll diffuse and overpower that color. And this is also kind of cool just to show that once we add this black silhouette on there, how much it kind of either brings the painting together or just makes it look a little bit different. Gives our brain an indication more of what it is rather than it being abstract and our brain's trying to figure out what we're looking at or how it makes us feel, because that's really what a lot of abstract art is. All right. Awesome. Oh, cool. I'm glad, Denise, you got to go up to Sedona for your honeymoon. If you go up there, or next time that you go up there, go into the Uptown area, and I believe that the Jeep company is still there. It's called the Day in the West Jeep Company. It's one of the millions of Jeep tour companies out there. But if you go to that corner, go to that building, and look on the side of the building, there's a 51-foot mural there, and that was the last thing that I painted before I left Sedona. So go check it out, take your picture next to it, give it some love, and it's a pretty extensive mural. It was a lot of fun to paint. All right, so we are going to be adding our trees in here now. So if you need to, you can jump down to the pointy brush. I'm going to be using the middle brush and just holding it sideways so I can create a skinnier line compared to a wider line. So we're going to put our tree trunks in first, and then we'll go through and do our leaves on top of it with that stabbing method. And then that should bring us into the conclusion of the painting. So as you're doing your tree trunks, like I said, it's pointy brush or holding this brush sideways, and play with your pressure. We're just kind of keeping that light pressure. And I'm just going to go through and put all the tree trunks in right now, and then we'll do the leaves on top of it. And because, again, I'm on that resurfaced canvas, I'm having a bit more of my texture show up. So if you're having any texture on your canvas show up, just apply a little bit more paint. Apply it a little thicker. All right, and I am going to have to add more black paint. So I'm going to show how we're going to do the treetops first, and then I'll add more black paint, and I am going to fill in this whole area. So we're going to have a whole row of trees. So And again, switch back and forth between your brushes. I'm gonna do this little middle tree right here just because it'll be higher contrast. And a lot of times I do like to hold the brush kind of perpendicular to the canvas, and it's almost just this like tapping method. And generally keep in mind that the trees are skinnier towards the top. And it's okay to twirl your brush as you're doing this, so that way you're not making the exact same brush stroke each time. And then, yeah, it does get a little bit whiter as it goes towards the bottom. And it is okay if you have a little bit of space that shines through, that just gives a little bit more depth, a little bit more atmosphere. And then as we get closer towards that mountainscape, you can start filling it in a little bit more solid. And these trees are going to be close enough to each other that they will overlap. Their branches will overlap each other. And this is another good spot to get in that habit of getting out of your chair and looking at your painting from that distance. And then you can go, oh, maybe I need a little bit more right here to fill in that space. But again, you're conversing with the canvas and figuring out what you like and don't like. Oops, time to reload the paint. All right. And let me see if I turn this light off, if that glare, there we go. All right. So I saw that in the video yesterday. I do miss my old studio with the lighting. I had such nice lighting there, but we are figuring out what's working in the home studio. All right, so same thing. We're just adding all of our leaves on here. If you're inclined and you don't want to do this with black paint, you could do this with green and yellow and have a bit more realistic, but totally your call. And every 4 or 5 brush strokes or every 30 seconds or so, just grab more paint, because you will get into a good groove of applying and doing this little stabbing method that sometimes you won't actually be applying more paint. So just kind of remember to grab more. If you want to go back into your sky and do a specific constellation or a shooting star, I forgot to mention that when we were doing it. But like I said, feel free, make it what you want. And even if you're doing the trees, if you're realizing that maybe they're just too tight and too bundled, you could go in with a little bit of white and make it gray and do a few little highlights on here too. So maybe I'll do a few of those after I do my next 2 trees, just so you can see that. And here, one of the stars was still wet, so it's picking up some of that white. I don't know if you can see it at home where it is changing the color to where I'm a bit of a dark gray right now compared to the black. And I'm going to kind of leave a little bit of that space right there, so it is showing that we've got a different ground level happening. So again, just get out of that chair, look at it from a distance, decide if you want little pockets showing through and where you might want that pocket to show through. And this one right here, I'm not going to quite do the tree trunk, but I'm going to imagine that we have, you know, a tree on the edge, and we're just seeing the edges of his branches shooting over. And again, by doing that, it just gives the viewer an imagination that this scene is larger than what we've captured on the canvas. And then when I have taught this painting before, because there is a kind of a good space in here, I think a few couples wrote messages on there, or they did their initials with a heart or put a name, or just left it black. So you've got options, and I still am the teacher that gives you more options than you probably need. All right, so if you want to break up some of that space, if it's feeling like it's just too much, too cluttered, too much darkness, grab some of that white, and literally you can leave the bristles kind of spread apart. I didn't even grab new paint, and I'm just grabbing that direct white. It's going to be pretty bold at the beginning, so I'm just going to place a few dots on there, and then like our wet on wet blending, I'm going to go back and diffuse it. So I will wipe off that excess paint. And then same thing with that stabbing method. just diffuse that, and it kind of just breaks up that black space a little bit and gives a little hint that we have some light coming from somewhere. But generally, when you are observing this in real life, those silhouettes don't really have any highlight on them. They're just, because so much light is behind them, that's what creates those beautiful silhouettes. But in the art world, sometimes we decide that we need to visually distinguish a few things, and that's what these little highlights are doing. Awesome. So let's see, I'm looking over to see if there's any questions. We got another one up here. Luis, I'm so glad you enjoy the tutorials. This particular canvas is an 8x10 canvas, and I stick with a smaller size just for filming, so that way I don't have to, be 4 feet away and filming. But you can do this tutorial on any size canvas, whatever you feel like doing. And you can always just adjust your brushes based on your canvas size. So if you work larger, obviously you'd want a few larger brushes. All right, so not too bad. Definitely didn't go as the way that I planned, but that's just part of life. So that was part of today's lesson. And if you come across something today or this week and it doesn't quite go as you planned, just kind of roll with it and see where it takes you. And then tomorrow you can always do something new or start over, or maybe you like that new direction it might take you. So part of being creative is working with what you have and just flowing with the moment. So like I said, that brings us to the conclusion of today's painting. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. If you paint anything, please send me a picture of it, email it, paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com, or tag me in social media outlets. If you feel like financially supporting Paint with Lovejoy, there's information in the description box below for my Patron page, my online school, and the sample sale. So I do have more of those listed on there. But pretty much anything that you guys send my way, it goes to continue my art and continue to support Paint with Lovejoy. So any request for future demos, please just leave a comment or leave something in the chat and I will add it on there. And if you want to see what we're painting tomorrow and in the next couple of days, just scroll to my main page and scroll down and you can see the future streams. So, all right. And thank you guys so much. I did have a couple of you jump on for Patron yesterday. Tammy and V, thank you so much. Really appreciate all your support. And I appreciate everybody just jumping on here and watching the videos. That is a huge, huge support. So keep painting at home, share this with your friends, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day. Cheers.